What is the difference between a 2-year-old and a 90-year-old man or woman? I'm going to tell you. When you start to learn to walk, you are developing the ability to balance and coordinate. So if we think about a 2-year-old and they're just starting to walk, and when they start to walk, they have this kind of shuffle thing going on. They're toddling back and forth like this. They take very short steps. Their feet are wide apart, because they have not developed the proper spinal tract balance. They haven't developed their nervous system enough to be able to balance so that when they walk, they can swing their hips forward. That comes with time. And so what happens is they start walking like this, they fall, they keep going, they keep falling, and then ultimately their nervous system starts to get it, and they start to form these neural pathways that allow them to actually walk smoothly and with fluid. So over time, then let's say you start playing sports, and every time you get injured, it's an impact to your nervous system. And maybe you get in a car accident, maybe you get a little older, you slip and fall. Every time you injure yourself, you actually start to inhibit and damage the nervous system in a way that prevents you from having proper balance and coordination. So as we start to go over time, so we had that 2-year-old, now we go over the course of our lives and we're having all of this damage, and then we get to be, 80, 90. Sometimes I see it, people in their 70s, and you see the same gait pattern, don't you? So you see an elderly man or woman walking with the shuffle, they're kind of hunched over, they fall a lot. They've lost the ability to balance and coordinate. So it's so important that as you go through your life, you recognize that each and every moment of your life is an opportunity to make sure that you keep your nervous system strong. Now, how do you do this? One of my favorite exercises that I like to show people, I have several, but one of my favorite ones, especially when we're trying to reestablish good neural balance in the body, is simply called bird dog. Now, you may have heard of bird dogs, and what are they? So I'm going to show you that right now. And this is specifically designed not necessarily for strengthening, although it does help with strengthening of your posture muscles, but it also helps to reestablish the neural pathway. Now, if you think about crawling, that's what this is. So crawling is actually a reflex in babies. Babies, they crawl as a way to start to establish strength in the nervous system, that balance and coordination, and that's why we crawl before we walk. Oftentimes, I'll ask people if they tell me that they've been uncoordinated or clumsy all their life. I will ask them if their parents ever told them that they never crawled or that they only crawled for a little bit. And they'll usually say, actually, my parents said, yeah, I went straight from my belly to walking. If you miss that crawling pathway, if you miss that crawling reflex, you actually can underdevelop your body's ability to balance and coordinate. Also, things like jumpy seats and things that just bind the baby's legs. They're sitting in those little trays and they're just jumping up and down all the time. They're only developing the neural pathway from the feet when they really need their hands and their arms involved as well. So what does a bird dog look like? Because this is an opportunity for you to reestablish your crawling reflex. So here's what it looks like. You're on your hands and knees, and you'll start with one leg straight out in front of you, straight out behind you. Now, when you do this, the tendency is going to be to lean over onto one side. So the object, we're just going to start with the leg, is your leg is straight out, you're tightening up in through the abdominal muscles, and you want both of your hip bones pointed straight down. Now, that forces me to then I can't balance like that. Forces me to then really tighten up my glute, and I'm challenging myself here while showing you this. Really tighten up my glute here. If I put my hand back down and then I come back here, now I can tighten that glute. I can push my heel back behind me, and then I can take my right arm and bring it right straight up in front of me. So that is a bird dog. Now I'm already wobbling. If I held this for a long time, I would eventually fall out. And that's okay, because that's the nervous system strengthening. So if you're somebody who's thinking, I can't do that, I shake when I do it, that's your nervous system strengthening, you should do it more. So now we're going to change sides. Here's the trick. So Left leg out, right leg in the front. Now we're gonna change, and when we come down to change, what I don't wanna see is this wobbling. I want it to be really smooth, which means you still have to maintain that tightness, the tension in through your abdominal muscles. You're really tightening up through the core, and you're challenging your nervous system to not be wobbly. So I bring that down, I'm gonna tighten, and it's almost seamless. Reaching straight out, coming back down, changing legs again, and really doing the best you can to prevent your hips from rocking back and forth. Now, you can do that like 10 times on each side. Yeah, it gets you a little winded. You know, it's a workout, so I want you to think about that. Is that it shouldn't be easy. It's going to be a challenge to you. So do that like 10 times on each side, and then try to hold each position for about 30 seconds. And like I said, you're gonna wobble, and you'll probably fall out of it, and that's okay. And what you're gonna find is that one side's gonna be easier to balance on than the other. And again, that's totally fine. We're all like that. We're all a little imbalanced. So what you wanna do is do it a little bit longer on the side that is most challenging. Now that doesn't mean come next week, you're gonna come back and you're gonna go, oh yeah, I nailed it, that side feels great, and then maybe the other side kicks in. Your nervous system is just interesting that way. So no rhyme or reason to figure that out, but what I want you to be able to do is do these bird dogs to start to reestablish your balance, your coordination, and those neural pathways, so that as you get older, you still have the ability to walk with a swing and not have to be at risk for falls and injuries like most elderly people are. So we want to avoid that at all costs. So if we can maintain our balance and our coordination and keep our nervous system strong, then your risk of falling and injuries like that goes way down, okay? So hey, once again, thanks for being here. I hope that was helpful, and please subscribe, share this information, and I will see you on the next one.